back, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we move on to the second panel discussion of the ET CFO Strategy Summit titled Accelerating Change Through Digital Upskilling. And it's an honor and privilege to first welcome and introduce the members of this panel. Aneel Gambhir, Chief Finance Officer, Blue Dart Express Limited. Satish Patel, Chief Finance Officer and Director Finance, Schaeffler India Limited. G. Sambasivan, Chief Finance Officer, Tata Sky Ltd. Jogendra Singh, President Finance, Hero Corporate Service Private Limited. And Rishi Aurora, Partner and Leader, Strategy and Interactive Services, IBM. Welcome, gentlemen. This session will be moderated by Gaurav Agarwal, Partner, PwC India. Gaurav, over to you.
Thank you, Ivan, and good morning and welcome everyone to this panel. My name is Gaurav Agarwal. I'm a partner with the finance transformation team of PwC in India. I think we had a great inaugural session where the CEOs and the business leaders spoke about their expectations from finance. They really spoke about things like business partnering being the right and center of what the expectations from finance are. Digital transformation is important. Real-time data is important. And I think ESG and capital allocation, I think things like that are extremely important as well. And those are their expectations from the CFOs and the finance community, which I think was a great takeaway personally for me when I kind of went through that session. But when you look at those expectations, I think the people have to be extremely important. Finance people who do these activities are extremely important, and we need to really focus upon those. What we've seen in the past is that a lot of digital transformations which we do focus on technology implementation, focus on process transformation, but the people side at times get missed out. And to get the benefits of those transformations, it's very important that we really upskill our people and prepare them for the future. Why this is even more important in today's days and age is because of the digital transformation. A lot of activities which were done earlier manually, things like bookkeeping, things like data entry, things like bill passing, things like MIS preparation, those are now being automated. So finance and finance teams have to learn new skills to be relevant and to also, as we spoke about, align on the expectations and meet the expectations which the CEOs and business leaders have with us. So I think with that, what we'll do today, we have an esteemed panel of CFOs. We would want to hear from them a little bit about their practical real life experiences and examples of what they have done as well when it comes to the finance teams and their people. So welcome everybody. I would like to start with Mr. Sambasivan. Sir, as we spoke, digital transformation is the key to or core to any finance transformation. Would you want to talk about a few interventions which you have done in your team, which have helped in improving the employee productivity, help improve the customer experience which finance has been able to provide?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Gaurav, for this session. And I have been in Tata Sky for the last 8 years. So I will give 2 or 3 instances where we tried and used digital upskilling and some of the technological interventions, which has helped us in a tremendous way. First one is on the subject of data analytics and the visualization. So first, as a first step, a couple of years back, or maybe 3 years back, we trained our FP&A team, meaning FP&A team, we took a conscious call to go in for a tool called Tableau, which many of you are aware of, I suppose. We have SAP for accounting, but we were getting all these PowerPoint presentations, all those things were done in Excel and PPT and things like that. We wanted to slowly move to Tableau, which we believe is a good analytical tool and which can actually help a lot of insights and a lot of immediate or online kind of data analytics which you can do. So we trained a few of our team, about 4 or 5 people, and they went around training the rest of the organization. Over the last couple of years, happy to say that we have now about 100 users of Tableau across the organization. So which is a phenomenal number if you were to look at it. And out of which there are various grades of licenses. Not all of them need what you can say the data analyst kind of a license. You can have some people who don't need to do coding or you don't need to create those reports. So that about 5 or 6 licenses we have. those who can actually manipulate the data and analyze the reports. But the rest of the team, they can actually take out the data and put it in dice and slice and dice like you do. And each and every function now, they have got a DIY kind of an approach. So it has actually helped us reduce the workload of the FP&A team in a very big way. So, and the controlling team, whatever reports we used to generate on a monthly basis or a weekly basis and share it with all these functions as a mail saying that, okay, this is what the last week report, last month report, everything is automated. And that access is given to those functions and they can analyze the data they want. For example, if somebody wants to do a cost center analysis of all the cost, a communications team, we have trained them on various cost centers. If there are 10 cost centers, they can do year-on-year analysis. We have actually uploaded 3 years of data so that there can be some trending as a one-time exercise. So last 4 years of data is available for them to do whatever types of quarter-on-quarter, month-on-month, year-on-year, this season to that season. So all those things which we otherwise would be doing is all transformed. So that's a very big thing. In the interest of time, I will restrict that to the next 2 items, which is one on the employee portal, where we have now created a portal for us using an external agency that has helped the travel and other pieces in a very big way. And the satisfaction level is at 4.5. We also have an end-to-end PRPO portal, which is an automated tool implemented 3 years back, which is called Zycus. That has also improved the productivity in a big way. So all said and done, these are the 3 things. One is the Zycus portal, second is the employee travel portal, and third is Tableau, which are the technological tools which are now being utilized across the organization and is improved productivity of the entire organization. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. These are great examples. And I think I'll probably move on to Mr. Patel and ask him the same question in terms of in a manufacturing setup in his organization, what are the kind of tools which he has implemented and which he's seen benefits for his employees and the organization as at large?
Thank you. Thank you, Gaurav. See, digitalization or sort of automation has been a journey for us. We are in a manufacturing company and manufacturing industry. That has been a journey for us for many years. Because long back we realized that we cannot become what we need by remaining what we are. So we have the sophisticated SAP system rolled out for many years now. And of late, the transformation of digitalization has taken a pace. Now, I give you a few examples and examples in 2 parts. Some of the sort of digitalization or the automations that we have undertaken, which are low-hanging fruits, and those can easily be captured. So very recently, we rolled out SAP Concur tool for the project called Extra, Expense and Travel Management. So the entire expense and travel management is now in Concur system, whereby right from requisition of your travel up to the final payment of your reimbursement is fully integrated in the system and it is automatized. Earlier, part of this process was manual, not entirely manual, part of this process was manual because there were other tools available. However, now it is fully integrated. So this was one of the steps undertaken in last couple of years, and there have been major benefit, particularly for finance colleagues from the internal control point of view, because this new tool is connected with the entire travel policy. So it already checks several sort of aspects that otherwise an employee was required to check. Employee in finance department was required to check manually. The second big achievement was actually converting physical records to digital. As we all know that in finance, colleagues actually work with a lot of physical papers and physical records. The records of invoices and quite many other contracts and such documents were actually stored in a physical location for long years. We have undertaken a document management system, which is called a DMS project, whereby the documents are digitalized and so stored. And thereby a lot of this paper preservation, which was necessary, has been eliminated. In addition to that, we have undertaken a project of workflow-based approvals and workflow-based signatures, whereby the physical signature, which we used to do on a piece of paper, following the physical workflow, that has been converted to completely digital workflow, whereby any type of approval, be it internal or external. For example, if we have to sign a contract with you, Gaurav, with your firm, we can do this digitally today. You don't have to send me a physical contract via courier, which I have to sign and send it back to you. And these are legally valid digital signatures. So this has gone a big way in terms of improving the productivity in the finance departments. These are the low-hanging fruits. Apart from that, we have rolled out big end-to-end automation projects. And I give you a couple of examples there. First and foremost, our main project is that of end-to-end automation on procure-to-pay side. So entire procure-to-pay, right from purchase order to final payment to vendor or supplier is automated. Earlier, part of this was automated up to purchase order, but the invoice receipt from supplier was physical. And this physical invoice was required to be punched in the system by finance colleague. And then it was to be mapped with the purchase order conditions and rates. And then the system was taking further steps automatically. But this step of invoice is also now automated via a new technology called ICR, OCR, the Intelligent Character Reader and Optical Character Reader. With this, the other part of the procure-to-pay, which is the invoice side, is also completely automated. Thanks to the GST regime, because the formats of the invoices are mostly now standardized. So the formats that we have of the invoices from different suppliers are almost same, except few of them where we have to work with the suppliers to standardize them. This has gone a big way in terms of the productivity improvement in accounts payable area within finance. Another example is we have recently rolled out success factors. The success factors is a big tool for hire to retire, right from hiring, onboarding, training and development, compensation, the entire spectrum of the HR is completely automated. This project is not fully implemented, it is at advanced stage, but within few months, this would be fully implemented. So these are the two big examples. In addition to that, not many automations on the services side, logistics, for example, the outbound freight, which used to be manual, now it is automated. That means when our goods are going out, the goods are automatically weighed when we do the dispatch. Based on that, the invoice is generated. The vendor, who is the transporter, doesn't have to bother about creating an invoice. He gets a pre-filled invoice. He has to just send back via e-workflow, and this gets posted automatically in the system, full internal controls, and there are no issues with regard to internal controls as well. This has gone a big way in terms of productivity improvement, and it has added a figure in the current times because most of the colleagues are working from home or partly working from home. They are able to work as effectively as they would have been otherwise working from office. So apart from that, not many internal control aspects, as I say. So these are the few examples. We are working on automation on a continuous basis. As I said, it's a journey for us, taking step-by-step approach. And I'm sure that going forward, we will have further integration of the system as well as additional tools, some of the examples that I cited.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Patel. I think for what you said and what Mr. Sambasivan said just shows the kind of things finance teams have done. And I think, again, goes back to the point that when we are doing so much of technology transformation in-house, there's definitely a need to upskill our people. So moving on to Rishi now. Rishi, while a lot of these tools are there, and you would have seen with several of your clients as well, that a lot of digital transformation happens, new tools, more sophisticated tools get implemented. However, change management and adoption are typical challenges which we've seen. So any views from you in terms of what are the challenges and what are the best practices which you've seen companies follow from a change management and adoption perspective?
Yes, thanks. Thank you, Gaurav. I think, change management is the single most factor, according to me. If the organizations don't undergo a thorough change management kind of process, it's the single most factor where programs or projects fail. Let me give you an example of my own organization, right? IBM has been on this journey of, centralizing the piece. We spoke about automation. We spoke about the cost takeouts, right? IBM has been on this journey for long, right? We have centralized our functions, right, across various centers across the globe, right? And this has resulted in billions of dollars of cost savings for us, right? The IBM way of working, or if I can call it the garage way of working, right? What we usually do is, it is very important to have the right squads when you are implementing change management, or when you are implementing these programs. The right skills should be there: functional, technical, data, right, AI, right? You can talk of various skills. How do you get these skills together in a squad, right, during the design phase? And once the design is completed, right, you move on to execution, right? And you continue with these with these squads, or with these teams, right? So if I have to just kind of summarize, yes, there are multiple tools available. Yes, there are multiple automation technologies which are available. Adoption is the single most important factor. Having the right people, right skills in the squad to execute and then get into the operate part of it, right, is most important. And that's how, even for customers, we are working with customers in India on their finance transformation journey, right from the consult part, which is basically the design part. Then you move into the operate part, or the execute part, right? You run we're running finance organizations of our customers, and you are implementing multiple technology. There are multiple technology interventions. All of this need to kind of work together, right? It's all about having programs which will make the teams aware of what is the change, how their lives are going to change, right? From a process perspective, from a tech perspective, from a day-to-day perspective. And like I said, we go function to function, we go process to process, be it P to P, O to C, R to R, right? Divide the programs into small bits, and then embark on these journeys, right? That's how we have gone about implementing these programs for ourselves internally and for our customers, Gaurav.
Great. Thanks, Rishi. I think you're absolutely right. I think adoption starts from the beginning. A lot of times we think that adoption will start once the implementations have happened, but I think it starts when you really get into the design phase itself, or the assess phase for that matter. I think moving on from Anilji, the quick question for you. I think we've seen that the new digital transformation era has brought in digital workforce, which is really around bots and AIs and machine learnings working together with the humans. Any good practices which you would want to talk about where you've seen both of these working well and giving the organization the right benefits of the human and the machine workforce working together?
Sure. Thank you, Gaurav. So the point here is, if you look at digital transformation has been buzzword and more so post the pandemic. And I think depending on where the organization are at their maturity level, the organizations have been adopting various digital solutions to improve efficiency, and also to ensure that if the current kind of uncertain situation continues, how do you leverage that? So and pandemic only has accelerated the journey since the wave one which came in. So when today we talk about the workplaces have not remained the same the way they used to be earlier, and my earlier colleagues also spoke about the kind of automation they have undertaken. I think enablement of all this automation comes from a combination of people as well as the virtual people. When I say virtual people, is like bots. So we're seeing that many places which the jobs are generally routine, mundane kind of job, repeat job, which generally we used to have people, but then it had inherent kind of a risk or inherent kind of challenges to make sure that the speed is there. So to address that, I think bots have been very actively supporting that cause to make sure that that you are able to maintain speed, you are able to do routine job faster, you are able to have faster output, and not only that, but also to take the data or pull out data from various systems, which generally used to take time, in a manual environment when people are doing manual processes. But here it pulls out data, puts them together, processes them together, and it's a kind of instructions written in a logical order, which bot is able to execute and give you output at a very faster pace. And another aspect which comes in is that generally you will have limitation of working hours in case of physical employees, but bots can work 24/7 for you to make sure that the output and the speed is faster. So from that perspective, I think downloading things which are manual, which are time consuming, which requires integration various systems, all that is downloaded to the bots, and which they make it happen. There are some rule-based approach, like Satish spoke about, P2P, or in various processes, or we spoke about the travel approvals, etc. If you can create a rule-based system whereby even bots can do all this approvals. Let me give you a specific example which Satish spoke about is in P2P. So not only from once purchase order is created till the time payment is made to the vendor, entire process, which is having matching of the invoice with the PO and the GRN, and making entry to making payment on time, to do reconciliation, to provide payment advice, to do all sorts of things can be programmed, which can be run by bot 24/7, and which generally is a time consuming process in a manual system. Can be done which very faster, and you can have better output, better informed decision can be taken if you're talking about some vendor reorganization. So entire thing can be made available by bots. Having said that, all that helps organization two ways. One, that other employees who are there physically, they can upskill themselves, do spend their time using analytics to get into greater efficiency areas, or that time they can use it productively for other process reviews, which could be a big picture for the organization. In addition to that, like we just spoke about, many of the people are working from home. So all this is in a digital way of working. So digital workforce and virtual workforce put together has not only ensured that you are working faster, but also ensuring that you are working probably unknowingly in an environment friendly way. I'm not so sure how many in last 2 years how many papers would I use when we are working from home. While being in office, we take so many printouts and so many hard copies we send. But now, having put a physical constraint, we have reduced ourselves to more of a paperless kind of a working. That itself not only is a digital way of working, but also a smooth and faster, but also ensuring that environment, it is environment friendly. So it works both ways, not only for getting leverage of each other's working, at the same time ensuring that it's environment friendly. So that's where I would say that there's a lot of avenues or the areas where we can leverage working together of virtual manpower as well as the digital workforce which we have.
Thank you, sir. I think, as you rightly said, a lot of the manual activities, the rule-based repetitive activities, which were more the doing tasks, are now being taken over by the bots, and the employees have to now upskill them to do the more thinking part. So for example, as you said, if earlier most of the time was taken in doing the transaction, now you have the transactions already. So how do you take more insights out of it? How do you make more stories out of it? How do you project the future from it? Is what the employees need to do. So that's really the part of the upskilling as well. Thank you. Moving on to Jogendra ji. Jogendra ji, I think the question which I had for you was, given whatever is happening from a digital transformation perspective, do you think new roles will emerge in the finance teams, things like data scientists, etc.? And have you seen those already in some organizations or in your organization? And do you think what will be the benefits of such roles going forward?
Yeah. Thank you, Gaurav. So, of course, when we look at this finance transformation, and I not only call it finance transformation, it is primarily the business transformation, because finance today cannot exist, without the business being, there. And finance teams have got more empowered so to say, with the new development like no-code apps kind of things. So where some of the finance teams were afraid of knowing the IT skills, etc. Now with the no-code apps, they're not really looking at it. So their work has moved, what I really call it, from hindsight to foresight. So primarily, what we were doing as looking at the numbers and interpreting the numbers, that was all happening in the hindsight. And our colleagues always said, okay, I mean, this has been done, so what do we do now? And today, with these tools available, probably we have that that power in our hands to really go for the foresight. And this is exactly where the new roles also emerge, like data scientists, etc. So first of all, what kind of skills that you would need, and then I'll move to maybe the role of the data scientist. So one thing we have found in our environment was the digital project management skills is was something which I thought was missing in most of the people. The other thing that we sought, we have tried to train our people on what we call CX, so customers experience, and the move is very clearly from ROI to ROE, so return on experience. So whether it is customer experience, primarily customer centricity. So how do our people really look at that? So those are new roles which are coming. And if I, there was a World Economic Forum report which talked about 10 skills or the future of 10 skills for 2025 is primarily what it talked about, and was talking about problem-solving skills, talking about self-management, people management, tech management. So things like analytical thinking, innovation, active learning and strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, originality, leadership influence, etc. And so these kind of things like resilience, stress tolerance, flexibility. So all these, once people go through these kind of trainings, new roles definitely emerge, and this is where we really use these new roles in furthering the growth mindset of the people. So we have also used within us various tools. So I give an example of our insurance intermediary, which is India's largest insurance intermediary, and the kind of data that we have over there is humongous. So how do we really make use of that data and monetize that data is where the role of science, data scientists, etc., come in. So this is where people like data scientists are coming in with their ability to churn the data, to understand patterns and behaviors, to really slice and dice, as Sambasivan said, to facilitate decision making in a data-driven approach. You have to direct actions based on trends, based on data. You define goals based on data. You challenge, people. You come up with interpretations, and we talk about VUCA world kind of thing. So this is again, where data scientists kind of roles help us to dig deeper into data and create those interpretations, create those visions, so that we understand in right time what are the warnings, opportunities through data insight. So where we are going is from descriptive analysis that we have always been doing in our normal roles of so let's say we earned so much or we lost so much, to moving to diagnostic analysis, where we say why did we lose this or why did we gain this, to predictive analysis where we say, okay, in the next 12 months this is where we are going to be, this is where we're going to gain or lose, to prescriptive analysis at the end of the day, where I talk about, okay, we lost so much, but if we do this, then we can take care of this loss. And this is where the new roles will come. New roles are coming in our own organization also. In insurance, as we said, we have appointed data scientists in finance teams, and really, when I talk about teams today, the structures of the teams have also flattened. So there are more like teams working together. So there is no differentiation between the business team and the finance team. So they have to work together. And when they are working together, and we have people like data scientists or people like digital project managers. So these people are creating the new data insight, new business insights to really bring, take the businesses to next level. And not only finance transformation, I always say finance transformation is a part of the overall, business transformation.
Right. Thank you so much. I think this was very helpful. I think, I guess through the first round of discussions, we've just identified the kind of tools which have been implemented, the kind of expectations which are there, and I think how the enablement has happened. I think all this requires investment. Those have been done. And it's really now up to the finance teams to take up these tools and leverage them to the maximum to deliver the value which is expected out of them. So with that, let me come more to the specifics on the teams itself. So I think starting with Mr. Patel, while we've implemented, as I said, a lot, and I think as all of you alluded to, a lot of tools, etc. in your environment, what are the key gaps which you see currently in the skills which the finance teams have? And do you think these gaps are different between industries? So let's do a manufacturing to a service to, let's say, the startups, etc.
Absolutely. In my opinion, and what we have experienced in our company and in our industry where we operate, which is the manufacturing industry, I'm pretty sure the gaps are definitely, the skill gaps are definitely different industry to industry, and I would say even company to company. Because of two reasons. One is the pace at which digitalization and automation is going on is changing very fast and actually increasing dramatically. And that could be different for a manufacturing company to a service company. It could be entirely different. And second thing is the timing of the automation and timing of the digitalization and timing of the system upgradation. So, for example, when I said that we have actually taken a journey of this entire automation and the digitalization, at some point of time we have started that. Maybe other companies and other in the industry would have started at different point of time. So its point of time, it also matters. And therefore, I am of the firm view that the challenge would definitely be different for different industries as well as the companies operating within that industry. And in terms of the skill gaps, I find, and I think Jogendra mentioned about that finance is an integral part of the business. What matters end of the day is the customer centricity. So what we see in finance is not only the digitalization that we ultimately do, which has to definitely contribute to the business goals, but how much the finance team have acquired a business knowledge, not that they are actually forefront of the to drive the business, but actually support the business in terms of business partnering. They have to have that type of skill set developed together with the digitalization. So both goes actually hand in hand. And therefore, when we look at the skill gap, we see the overall skill gap, which is actually there in finance and not only limited to digital skill gap. So we have good examples of colleagues who are very good driving the business, but who are not very digitally oriented. Does not mean they have skill gap. They have high orientation of the business. So we have to balance this and we have to bridge this gap by addressing certain aspects that an employee actually requires in terms of providing extensive training, in terms of providing certain tools and facilities whereby they can actually get acquainted with them. So there are certain gaps, also the gaps created because of the environment. As you see in last couple of years, the pace of transformation, particularly on the digital side, has changed dramatically. In our own company, as well as I see around, this is probably the 5th session I am attending where we are talking only about digital age. So in the past, we used to talk about many other topics, like, for example, how we drive our business. That has entirely changed. And since this pace has changed, the gaps, the skill gaps have increased, not created by employees, but actually it is it is faced by them, and we have to, in a way, ensure that these skill gaps are actually breached as much as possible. So what we have done is we go by step automation, and we also ensure, for example, Concur project took some time, but we rolled it out properly. Then we went for the procure to pay. In parallel, we are working for the success factors, which is the hire to retire. And then our next project will begin, which would be the order to cash. So there would be a step-by-step approach to address these skill gaps. But yes, I do certainly agree that there are some skill gaps. Employees have also to proactively come forward from that comfort zone to actually acquire the digital skills. And in today's time, and I think one of the panel member, I think Jogendra mentioned that how much orientation you have towards the digital, it's easy to adapt actually. To adapt digitalization is not difficult because there are not so many technical aspects involved, unlike in the past where you need to have a good amount of technical or IT knowledge. That happens in the background. So that is something which is now overcome, and it is easy for the employees actually to adopt that. There are certain aspects to be addressed, no doubt. But yes, I do agree there are some skill gaps and we have to address. The best way is to go not so fast, not so hurriedly, but go little step by step.
Great. Okay, thank you. So I think, as you rightly said, there are skill gaps. The skill gaps could be on the adoption of technology. They could be on the business partnering skills. They could be on the softer skills. So coming to Mr. Sambasivan, what are the kind of programs which you have implemented to bridge the skill gaps or bring your employees up to speed or upskill your employees?
So we have been working on improving the skill sets of our employees for the last 8 years, and particularly on the digital skills, and particularly on the business knowledge. I liked when Mr. Satish Patel said that you have to have a balanced skill gap analysis. You need to understand the business well, not to the extent of driving the business, but to the extent of supporting the business properly. So that is very, very important. And parallelly, we need to also have these digital skill sets. So we were working on regularly. So now to make it a little bit more formal, what we have done in the last 1 year is that we got an external agency, one of the big four. We got the experts from each function, for example, a tax expert or a treasury expert or a planning expert or a supply chain expert or a revenue assurance expert from these consultant agency, this big one of the big four. And they did an assessment of each and every individual in multiple ways. One is to have a group discussion to look at their communication skills. One is to have a personal one-to-one interview to understand their knowledge of the technical skill set, as well as to understand the way they are interacting with the stakeholders. And the third is to also to have an assessment of their digital skill sets, asking certain questions in terms of emerging technologies. What's the kind of new, like RPA, AI, ML, do they have some knowledge about it? Because when you talk to an individual on a one-to-one basis, you will really understand whether the person knows something or does not know something, right? Within 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you will find out. And so typically what they did was they did an assessment, what we called as a technical overall assessment for each and every one of my team members. And they came up with a broad, what you can say, IDP, which is what we call as the individual development plan. The good news what we got was that they unanimously said that you guys are good at your own job. Whatever you are doing, you guys are good at it. So that's good. Good news. The other expected news is that we need to improve a lot on this digital skill set, which is one of the parameters. And second is the knowledge and the utilization of emerging technologies, right? So these are some of the parameters. And we also assess them on what we call as the process maturity. We also assess them on, say, risk assessment. Depending on each function, there are kind of identified criteria for each function and each role. So it was like tailor-made assessment for each and every role, so to say. Not assessment for every individual, for the role. There is an assessment criteria. And they came out with this report, and they also went around talking to our stakeholders and finding out what other functions are feeling about the efficiency and the effectiveness of the finance function. So these two things which we have done, one is part customer satisfaction, internal customer satisfaction, and part technical assessment. The objective is to be ready for future. So now we have got a very clear roadmap as to what these guys have to do, what all of us have to do over the next 6 to 12 months. They have also identified, so each individual has got some 5 or 6 action points. Some can be done within 3 months, some can be, some of the examples are okay, if you want to know certain books you have to read, certain courses you can attend. They have identified those courses also. These are the courses which this particular role has to do. So like that, we have got a 1-pager for every individual. Yes, it involves some cost for us, but I thought let us make it formal so that at least there is a clear roadmap for going forward, so that I know, okay, whether I am successful or not next 1 year down the line, I'll know whether we have done it or not, right? So that's where we are, and we are in the journey. By June, I would say that the learning process would have been completed. As of now, one set of team members have already completed their learning process, and I'm having a review with them in January. The second set of team members, I will have a review in April. So that's where it is. So hope that answers your question.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Coming to Mr. Gambhir, I think we spoke about business partnering being extremely important, understanding of the business being extremely important for the employees. Any steps which you've taken in your organization to impart those skills to the finance teams?
Yeah, Gaurav, thanks for the question. See, I will deal with this in 2 parts. Firstly, when we come to the leadership or the head position of the finance, I think we as a leaders are able to do a lot more data analytics. And with the digital journey, I think a lot more non-financial information is available, through which a finance head is able to see much bigger picture. Now the question lies is that now you have got the knowledge not only about the financial information but also about the business. Having said that, how do you transmit that information to the real decision maker by way of effectively communicating that what you want to communicate? So the point here is that today, after having done a lot of data analytics and seen the big picture, if you don't have right skill to communicate right way, which we can call it as a storytelling, effective storytelling, telling in a way where your point is understood rightly for further action or taking it forward. So I think that is one part I'm sure many of the organization you'll find would be missing, that while you may be good in doing your job, you may be good at looking at the bigger picture, but you're not able to effectively communicate. So that is one skill probably one need to look at it. Having said that, on the team part, we are not sure what kind of technology we're going to use in future, right? So we cannot decide that what kind of technology intervention or what kind of training we should give to them. But the fact that we need to create a kind of a digital ready culture, which is open mind, agile, easy adaptability, to open to change, those kind of things. If mindset is there, people will be able to adopt that technology much faster. I think that is what is enablement. Then that's where one needs to look at it, which are the areas where upskilling needs to be done, where reskilling needs to be done. And also, if still from your existing resources, you're not able to meet your requirement, then get the resources from outside, bring in the skills so that your team is able to work on the software or the applications or the which organization is trying to implement. From that perspective, within it, some kind of analytics to see that what are the activities, prioritization of activities, that which are the activities which are adding value, I continue to do it, which are the new activities which I need to start, which will add further value to the organization, and which are the activities within the process which are not value add, I stop doing it. So start, stop, and continue doing things. These things I think needs to be embedded with the technological upskilling, reskilling, and bringing a skill, so that one is able to create a big picture, and then effectively one is able to communicate that what actions are initiated to enhance value of the organization. That's where I'll take a pause. Thanks.
Thank you so much. This is really helpful. I think understanding of the business is critical, right? I mean, I've seen companies sending the finance teams when they join to the distributor locations on the delivery trucks, etc., to just understand the business, or having them being on the pizza delivery or trucks or pizza delivery vehicles, or being in the kitchen preparing those pizzas. So we've seen those things just to make sure that the finance teams understand what the business is really going through and be more sympathetic and also understanding of the business. I guess that's important. So moving on, I think Jogendra ji, you raised a very important term around return on experience, right? And I think so what have you done in your company to improve the return on experience which finance is able to deliver to the organization, be it through soft skills or other skills as well?
Yeah, thanks, Gaurav. So I think what Aneel talked about the business partnering role. it is absolutely important today that we cannot live in silos, and we'll have to really go and do a business partnering. So business skills have to be done. Whether you go ride along with a pizza delivery boy or work in the kitchen, somebody would be very happy to be in the kitchen. But these business skills are absolutely necessary. So business as usual absolutely is not an option. So what we do is, primarily we talk about, first of all, creating a foundation layer, which we talk about as the value driven quality. So I call it pride. When I say pride, I mean passion, respect, integrity, discipline, and empathy. So this is primarily the a foundation on which you start working on. So what is the job of a finance guy when he is working with a partner? He has to influence. How does he influence? For influencing, you need to have charisma, you need to have confidence, you need to have composure, and most of all, your communication skills. So how do you really work on your communication skills? Today, absolutely, EQ is more important than IQ. Whether it is a digital world, whether it is remote work or hybrid work, whatever work, your EQ today is absolutely more important than IQ. The people skills, come there. And this is what I say, from competence, you have to move to being a catalyst, And, there was a wonderful book, which said culture eats strategy for breakfast or for lunch, so something like this.
Yeah.
I think it is absolutely necessary that we create that culture. Aneel also, made a wonderful point that we do not know what kind of technologies, will come in future. So how do you prepare for those technology? I think the most important thing is our ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that means learn to learn is the new mantra. And I also see a lot of fear in people, when we talk about, learning new things and then constantly being in the state of learning. So I said, guys, Aham Brahmasmi is, what our, Sanskriti had said. I am the divine flame. You're part of God. So you can absolutely learn things. So all is needed is, resolve, resilience, reimagine, and reform. And that's what you really need to keep in mind. The magic formula, I think, is very simple. You have the self-leadership multiplied by engaged teams, and that is equivalent to sustainable business growth. So at the end of it, you have to have that growth mindset. You have to have that ability to work with people, and you have to have the ability of learning to learn. That is what is required. And this is exactly, we have done, fortunately, we have within our own Hero Enterprise Group, a company which is into learning and development. And this has also helped us in, imparting these softer skills as well.
Great. I think this was extremely helpful, Jogendra. I think some of the terms that you used, the pride, the learning to learn, I think great anecdotes. I think very, very relevant as we look at young finance professionals as well. I think lastly, Rishi, coming to you, there are a plethora of learning resources available, right, to anyone and any finance professional as well. What are your views on some of the sources which you've seen work well? And what would be your guidance to young finance professionals on how should they leverage the tools available to them?
So, what are these tenets to successful upskilling? See, yes, there are tons of tools which are available for upskilling, but I'm calling it, what are the tenets for successful upskilling? Yes, one is the tools, right? The content which is there. Second is, the personalization part of it, right? The course or the content has to be personalized to what you need. Third, yes, there is, data analytics, that part is there. But I think the two most important parts, right, which are often overlooked. One is around recognition. After your teams or your colleagues have upskilled, right? What about, are they going to do the same job? Are they going to do different jobs, right? So that is, can we give them those digital credentials? So how do we, as an organization, and how does that individual, get credentialized for being upskilled now? And I think the other most important part around this, the tenet, is around organization readiness, right? So even if you have upskill, is your organization ready to adopt? We spoke about, change already, but is your organization ready to do that? So, very quickly, I will tell you what we do in IBM. Suppose you are in one particular area and you want to now get upskilled in another area. We offer badges, right? So we offer badges. You have to go through a course. You then have to, and again, the course can be online, offline, classroom, right? You then take a test. Once you pass the test, you get a badge. And after you have spent, and then you have to have we have a very strong marketplace in place. So even if I want to go and upskill myself, I know what courses are available to me, what courses would be important for me. So what is my own personal interest? So I will take that course, pass a test, and get a badge issued to me. And after that, right, after a certain point of time, like I said, recognition. What do you do after being upskilled, right? There are, if you have spent a certain amount of time in your role, right, again, there is a marketplace or internal HR sites which are available where you can apply for various roles, right? So that's a practice which we follow in IBM, and we have been following this for a long time. Gaurav, hope I have answered your.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is very, very good insights. So thank you so much. I think we've ran out of time. We could have continued for longer, but thank you so much to the panelists for their interesting wisdom and I think interesting insights. Ivan, back to you.
Thanks, Gaurav. As I was listening to this panel, and I'm sure I'm going to echo the sentiments of all our audience members, all the delegates who've logged in and are listening into this. Our inaugural panel discussion was on the expectation of CEOs of new age CFOs, and they said quite a lot, and rightly so. I wish they're listening in to this panel and they listen to what each of you tabled, because I can say that after hearing you guys out and having heard the expectations, I know that in each of you, the CFO function is in very safe hands. So thank you, Aneel, Gambhir, Satish, Patel, G. Sambasivan, Jogendra, Singh, and Rishi, Aurora for tabling your insights. I'm sure there are some excellent takeaways for all finance professionals and aspiring CFOs. We wish you and your respective organizations the very best going forward. And Gaurav, thank you for doing a fantastic job of moderating this panel on accelerating change through digital upskilling.
Thank you, Ivan. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jit. Do stay tuned in, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back on the other side with the next session.